Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to February's wrap-up video. So we are at the end of February, going into the beginning of March, and in this video I talk about all of the movies, TV shows and books that I've watched/read during the month. So let's just get started. I have a couple of films, but not really, they're more documentaries, and I do have my list here, so that's why I'm looking over there. So the first film that I watched this month was Eileen, Queen of the Serial Killers, and that's about Aileen Wuornos. I don't know if I say her name properly. And Aileen Wuornos is an American serial killer. She was an American serial killer. Her case was, of course, very interesting because she was one of, if not the first, American female serial killer. I can't quite remember. And I've studied her case bits and bobs here and there. And I saw this on Netflix, I believe, and decided to watch it. And I think overall, the documentary was done quite well. Of course, I'm trying to be sensitive here because we're dealing with real people's lives. I think what was difficult is I already had a bit of background to Eileen Wuornos and her case and everything that happened, whereas my husband didn't. He knew very little about her. And I find that this documentary didn't delve specifically into the murders. A bit difficult to talk on YouTube, but it didn't delve into the details that I think you would have needed to frame this case and to perhaps form an opinion if that's what you wanted to do. Let's just say things on the surface aren't as clear-cut as they perhaps seem, and so it lends for interpretation, which of course is a difficult topic to discuss because should we be interpreting things like this? It's a topic that I can't really delve into too much, but what I will say is I don't think the context was there for this documentary. So I think the documentary on its own was a good piece of art, it was a good piece of media, but I think it lacked the context. So for someone like me who knew quite a bit about the case already, it was a good documentary. For someone like my husband who knew very little, he was left with more questions than answers and feeling very confused. And the next one is an absolutely insane documentary, again on Netflix, and again dealing with a similar thing, so quite morbid actually. Murder in Monaco. Have you guys seen Murder in Monaco on Netflix? Absolutely insane. So in brief with this case, and it was absolutely crazy watching this documentary. I knew nothing about this. So in brief, you have I think he was a billionaire who died in his house in a fire along with his housekeeper, his nurse. And the story is whodunit, basically. It's a whodunit, and you have a male nurse who's a suspect, you have his wife who is essentially a suspect, and I believe there was somebody else. The mafia, the Russian mafia, I think was one of them. What an insane documentary. It's so hard for me to even attempt to discuss this documentary. It was, honestly, the only word I can think of was insane. These shock documentaries, right, they do something to me. They really do. They work. I am a sucker for this kind of shock documentary. I remember watching Abducted in Plain Sight for the first time, The Tinder Swindler, those kind of documentaries. Yeah, I'm a bit of a sucker for them. And again, it's really hard to talk about these documentaries like they're entertainment because they are. They are framed as entertainment, but this is also real people's lives. You know, this guy died and his nurse died. So it's really difficult to speak about these kind of documentaries, and the documentaries that I enjoy watching. So on these wrap-ups over the years, we've talked about them before, and the consensus for me is always, I can't talk about them. I find it so difficult to talk about them because, again, it's real people's lives and experiences. But that whole side plot with the male nurse, what a journey that was. And honestly, I'm telling you, if you like those styles of documentaries, maybe I never watched it, but Tiger King, I think that was really popular. Watch Murder in Monaco. Honestly, it will blow your mind. So that was the two films that I've watched this month. Again, not really films, more documentaries. No traditional films in that sense here. So let's now move on to TV shows. And of course, let's talk about Bridgerton. So Bridgerton season 4. I have watched all of part 1. Now, for full transparency, you will be seeing this a little bit later. I'm actually recording this on Thursday, I believe the 26th of February, which means part 2 came out today, and I'm waiting for my husband to get home from work to watch it. So I cannot discuss part 2 with you. So we'll be talking about part 2 in March's wrap up. But again, no spoilers, please don't worry. Bridgerton Part 1. I really enjoyed it. For me, my favourite season of Bridgerton is Season 2, Anthony and Kate, closely followed by Queen Charlotte. And is anything going to top Anthony and Kate's season for me? I'm not sure. This certainly hasn't yet, but it's really hard to talk about it because it's in 2 parts and I've only watched 1 part. So I might leave my complete thoughts on Bridgerton until the end of next month's wrap up, if that's okay, because I feel like I need the whole season for the bigger picture. But I am enjoying it so far. Then, of course, the big documentary everybody has been talking about, particularly if you are in the sphere of people who react to modelling shows. So, for example, one of my favourite YouTubers here is Luxeria. Reality check inside America's Next Top Model. So as a girl who grew up watching America's Next Top Model, that show has a lot to answer for me and for all of the girls of my generation and some of the boys too. Yes, it's hard to talk about America's Next Top Model because, again, shock value, entertainment. I enjoyed America's Next Top Model for what it was, but looking back, was it toxic as hell? Yes. So the documentary, I enjoyed the documentary. Some shocking revelations in the documentary. Tyra Banks, there is no doubt in my mind. You can come and sue me, girl, if you want. I've got no money. She's a narcissist through and through. Can take no accountability for anything whatsoever. Very difficult to watch her on screen. It's very harrowing for me. I've had my own experiences in life, again, which I'm not going to go into here. But it's very harrowing for me to watch Tyra Banks. I don't use the term triggers lightly. I really, really don't. But watching her on television definitely does trigger something in me. So it's very, very difficult. It was really hard hearing about Miss J and his story. Again, I'm not going to spoil it too much because I think you should watch it. Overall, I mean, if you want a deep dive into the documentary, then I would highly, highly recommend you going and watching Luxeria's video, because the way she articulates things is just, I could never. But yes, I would recommend it. And again, that's on Netflix. Same with Bridgerton. Pretty much everything is Netflix this month. So the final TV show to talk about this month is Being Gordon Ramsay, the Gordon Ramsay documentary. Now, it's 6 episodes and it's talking about his life in general, but it's also talking about his ventures at 22 Bishopsgate, which is the tallest building, I believe, in London. And one of his restaurants, Lucky Cat, is the tallest restaurant in London. So it's talking about the process of that. So he had a building, 22 Bishopsgate, and he was making 5 restaurants in there. And it's about I think it's a year in his life getting to that point. And again, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's lots of twists and turns. And I personally quite like Gordon Ramsay, so I did enjoy the documentary. My only point of criticism is I think it was too long. I think for the story they were trying to tell, 6 episodes was far too long. And there were points that I was getting bored and checking the time and seeing how long we had left of the documentary, which if you're gripped in something, you shouldn't obviously be checking how long you've got left. So now we move on to books. And if you watched last month's wrap-up, you know where this is going. I have 2 books to talk about. Iron Flame. So I finished the 2nd book in the Fourth Wing series. This is, of course, by Rebecca Yarros. I did not know much about Fourth Wing, apart from that it was popular and it had dragons in it. That's pretty much all I knew about Fourth Wing. And I did enjoy A Court of Thorns and Roses, the series, to a degree. I much preferred the later books to the earlier books, but it took me a while to get into them. Same for this. I feel like with these kind of romantasy books, and I've said this in a previous wrap-up, so apologies for repeating myself, this book is quite large, as you can see, and it takes me till about here. So you've got all of that, just that little section there to get into it. All of this I find really, really difficult to get into. It's hard for me with romantasy books, again, because they don't grab my interest from the start, whereas other book series do grab my interest from the start. So reading the Fourth Wing series has been a little bit of a slog for me, I'm not going to lie. However, I do enjoy them. So I finished Iron Flame, and then I've took the dust cover off, but it is Onyx Storm. I don't know about anyone else, but if I have a hardback, I have to take the dust cover off to read it. So this is Onyx Storm. I think you're seeing it upside down. Yeah, you probably are. I am, let's see, I've read this much. So I've got this much left to read, so I can't talk to you too much about Onyx Storm. So again, we will be discussing Onyx Storm in next month's wrap-up, but I think I've got about 400 pages left to read in Onyx Storm. So again, I'm going to wait, a bit like Bridgerton, and I will tell you my thoughts on the 3 Fourth Wing books in March. but I am enjoying them so far. Is it my favourite book series of all time? No, not by any stretch, it's not, but I am enjoying them. That is all of the books, films and TV shows that I've watched/read during the month. So thank you very much for watching. You'll have to let me know what you've been watching and reading this month. And shameless plug as always, over on my gaming channel, Ember Games, we talk about all of the video games that I have purchased, both physically and digitally, and all of the video games that I've played during the month. So if you want to watch that wrap up as well, please feel free to. But that's it for today. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.